Michols, it's so nice to meet you. Let me tell you, you really have just burst into this Southern hospitality series, which we love so much. You are a boss, you're an assistant general manager. A couple episodes ago, we had a really honest moment with you and TJ. I love that we got to hear more about your backstory, your coming out, your relationships with your family. What was it like for you to kind of, it's one thing to go through it, but then to actually talk about it on reality TV is a whole other thing. What was that like for you to kind of get to express yourself that way?
In a way, it was very nice to finally just be able to break the ice and be super transparent about my story. I feel like TJ and I's friendship has always been surface level, and we had to go through a lot of growing pains to get to where we are now. And I feel like there was eventually going to come a time where it was like, listen, like, you're my first gay friend. I've lived here for almost 4 years. I'm newly gay. I'm just trying to figure it out. Not necessarily need guidance, but what better than to have somebody that's older than you and wiser to be your best friend and to be there to give you advice and just coach you through things that you would go through that other people can't help you with, or like your other friends.
I think it's interesting because I think as gay people, there is that thing. It's like, are we friends? Is it a potential relationship? How did you navigate that? Because obviously we heard about the kiss in the Uber and the bringing of the coffee and all that. It's like sometimes just because you're gay doesn't mean you're going to be in a relationship. You can just be friends. I know it's hard for people to understand that, but...
Yeah. My coffee crashed out.
TJ, it's so good to see you. What a season. We're only a couple episodes in, but I'm loving this centered storylines around you. And I love that you and Michols are buds. I want to talk about the episode a couple back. What was it like to get to know... Because listen, we know that you and Michols had a kiss and then you brought him a coffee, but then you actually really learned a lot about his backstory. It is interesting that you are his first gay friend.
Yeah, I know. That was like an amazing moment for us both. Like, it definitely has brought us closer. And it was also amazing to get to know more about Michols and his story and his journey of like coming out. And, it was a really hard, honest conversation, and it's definitely brought us closer and also allowed us to have more honest conversations like that with each other. It's amazing to have a friend that is gay that I can share those things with.
We're in this weird place. When the cameras show up, it's very like they want to know what your dynamic is like. You're not putting on a show. These are real time, real life feelings. I definitely do think that like even the nail salon scene helps so much like with navigating our friendship and just putting us back into a better place where we're both grounded and have a good understanding of where we both stand.
I do think we see the more rewarding side of it is our friendship and how we can be there to support each other and how we have been there for each other.
You mentioned, unfortunately, some of your family had a harder time with you coming out, with, being accepting of that. Have you talked to them more since the episode aired? I mean, where does that all stand?
Since the episode aired, I didn't really hear the best feedback from my mom. I don't really think that she's tuning in as much as I'd hope. Like maybe look at it from a different perspective. I have heard a lot of support and like gotten a lot of phone calls from my other family members. Like a lot of my aunts have reached out. My brother's reached out. My sister's reached out. Same thing, like even with my dad, like you'll get to see later on in the season. He comes down to Charleston and like we sit down at dinner. We get to talk about everything. On that aspect, like majority has been very supportive and been very helpful.
What was your experience, when it came to self-acceptance, coming out, all of that?
So I came out when I was like 21, and it was honestly a very different time. That was like 12 years ago. It was definitely less of a talked about thing. The generation has come, I feel like we've come a long way in the last 12 years, and that's amazing. But, it was hard. Like I did, go through some hard times in high school, realizing who I was, and, coming out wasn't easy. Luckily, my parents were very accepting and understanding, but it definitely, like, just because they were very accepting, it doesn't mean that was, wasn't still hard. It was definitely a hard conversation for me to have, but I'm lucky to have their support. It like really, I think that's the scene in the nail salon. I get so upset, and I think it's just realizing the things that Michols had to go through and, how hard that must have been.
I know we're only a couple episodes in, but have you heard from anyone so far that's seeing the show that kind of maybe has the same story as you, or feels great seeing you talk about your identity and your sexuality and all that?
Yeah, 100%. I've definitely gotten a lot of feedback. A lot of people have reached out to me, like even on Instagram, just being like, thank you so much for sharing your story. I've never seen anybody do that on TV.
Yeah.
Post-production complimented me and been, hey, that was huge. We didn't even know that was going on. We're very proud of you. But yeah, I've had other members of the LGBTQ plus community just like reach out to me and say like, oh, I'm a trans woman from Charlotte. And watching your show and watching your scene, it just came across on my TikTok, and it just made me feel so heard, and it made me feel like I had a voice. And I'm honestly very happy that I shared that story, because I feel like a lot of us in the gay community, we have strained relationships with our families. So yeah, I'm very happy that my story is helping some people.
I want to get your hot take on this. What is the deal with TJ and Joe Bradley? I mean, what's your opinion on this?
I would say, I don't know. That's tricky. That's tricky. I haven't gone through what they've gone through together in their friendship. I haven't experienced any of that. Like, on that aspect, Joe's like a brother to me. Same thing with TJ now. So I don't know. That's definitely one you're gonna have to like watch it play out for sure.
Joe Bradley. Listen, there's a lot going on with the two of you. There's a long history there. Buds, drama. Luann was involved, of course, but like how are we doing today? I guess is what I'd love to know.
Joe and I have been friends for a long time, and we're going to continue to be friends for a long time. That doesn't mean that there's going to be some issues. It's really exciting. I think that, everyone gets to see us work through our differences and situations that we have been through together. I really hope that this also is something that helps other people, and, our families are really close, and that's also something that's very important to both of us. Yeah, Joe's like family in a way. He's one of my best friends.
Yeah, and what I always like is when we see someone who's gay and then just being best friends with someone who's straight too. I love that, because I think there is that weird stereotype that like doesn't ever happen or that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and honestly, that's how I feel with Bradley Carter as well.
Yeah.
Both Bradleys, it's amazing. He doesn't look at me as like a gay friend. Like we're just friends, which is an awesome point that we've gotten to, I feel like, in this generation. I've been really focusing on myself this past year, working through some internal issues and just like focusing on my business and growing that, which I'm excited that gets shown this season, which is going to be amazing. Yeah, I'm really just focused on making myself happy, and like, so when I do find that person, I'm like ready to go.
That's a really good mindset. I love that. This show, I love, was inclusive for LGBT people before, like from the season one. The Southern Charm is also getting there, which I love. I imagine you and probably Ryan and Rodrigo are buds too. What's it like to kind of have, representation in both of Leva's shows now?
Yeah, no, it's honestly so cool, and I'm so happy that I'm a part of this time.
Yeah,
it's become this. Like, it's cool to see their stories and how we're all different, but I also think it's amazing for the audience to see like how normal this is for everybody and how far we've come. And this is not weird. This is not like, you don't look at the story and think like, I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? This is 2025. Like, everyone's the same deep down, internally.
I love that. Well, listen, it's so good to catch up with you. Just a reminder, everyone, like you said, there's a lot to come still. Thursdays at 9, Southern Hospitality. Of course, catch it. Bravo. Very excited to see what happens.